Let me paint a picture for you, one that tells the whole tragic story of what they've done to our Vegas. Back in 1959, the Golden Gate gave us the legendary 50-cent shrimp cocktail. 6 beautiful, plump shrimp nestled in that iconic tulip glass, crowned with a zesty cocktail sauce and a simple lemon wedge. For decades, that price was a rock, an anchor of value. It only crept up to 99 cents in 1991, after holding steady at 50 cents for 32 long years. Even by 2008, it had only inched its way to a mere $1.99. But this is where the story turns sour, where the greed takes over. Today, that very same shrimp cocktail will set you back over $12 at most places on the Strip. Do the math. That's a staggering 600% spike in just 17 years. And this happened while the paychecks of hardworking Americans barely kept up with simple inflation. The Golden Gate? They sold 25 million of those cocktails by 1991 alone. It was such a symbol of Vegas value that imitations started popping up all over the valley. As the veteran casino owner Mark Brandenburg put it, this was the essence of the old Vegas. Value was the cornerstone. Value. Burn that word into your memory, because on the Strip today, it's like a language nobody speaks anymore. Now, if you want a ghost of that 99-cent shrimp cocktail, you have to drag yourself to Circa between the ungodly hours of 3 and 5 in the morning. It's a cynical joke, as if they're saying, sure, you can have your precious nostalgia, but you'll have to sacrifice your very sleep for it. But believe me, the shrimp cocktail is just the opening act. The real gut punch, the main course of this betrayal, is what they've systematically dismantled. The iconic Vegas buffet. I want you to remember the late 1960s. You could feast on the most lavish buffet spreads at Caesar's Palace for a mere $2.75. The Silver Slipper's famed dinner smorgasbord, just $1.98. Even when you adjust for inflation, those prices would land somewhere between $20 and $30 in today's money. Instead, we're staring down the barrel of the Bacchanal Buffet, demanding $87 to $92 for a dinner plate. The sheer audacity is just staggering. In 2019, right before the world turned upside down, Las Vegas boasted over 50 casino buffets. Today, we're left with a paltry 12. 12! That's a 76% annihilation of one of the city's great traditions. They didn't just jack up the prices, they ripped the choice away from us entirely at most properties. Let's just look at the casualties from the first half of 2025 alone. The buffet at the Luxor? That was a place offering breakfast and lunch for $32, one of the last affordable havens on the Strip. Vanished. And the Rio's legendary Carnival World Buffet? Gutted and replaced by a soulless food hall. The Aria Buffet met the same fate, replaced by some generic concept called Proper Eats Food Hall. They stole our traditions, erased our choices, and had the nerve to call it innovation. Now, let's get to the most shameless, insulting cash grab of them all. I'm talking about resort fees. In the Vegas I remember, these simply didn't exist. You paid for your room and that was it. You got the room and all its perks. Access to the pool, the fitness center, even local phone calls. Sometimes they even threw in breakfast. That, my friends, was called hospitality. Today's resort fees bleed you for another $35 to $55 a night, and the Federal Trade Commission's own recent data backs this up. These charges are mandatory whether you use a single one of the so-called amenities they cover. MGM Resorts had the gall to hike their resort fees by another $3 to $8 a night in December of 2024. Caesars will hit you for up to $55 a night in these bogus fees, piled right on top of your room rate. And here's the real punchline. Most of the things they're charging you for used to be standard free perks. Wireless internet, pool access, the fitness center. These were just basic features of a decent hotel. As one fed-up visitor wrote on Reddit, $25 drinks, $30 pancakes, $35 burgers, and then they expect a tip on top of it all. The Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, the very people paid to promote the city, we're forced to acknowledge that visitor numbers plummeted 12% in July of 2025, with just 389,300 visitors, compared to over 3.5 million the year before. Occupancy on the Strip itself slid 7%, from 86.5% down to 79.5%. Even the insiders, the ones behind the curtain, have to know that something is fundamentally broken. Let me arm you with some cold, hard facts from credible sources that prove just how profoundly Vegas has slammed the door on regular folks. According to the National Restaurant Association, average menu prices nationally exploded by more than 27% from February of 2020 to June of 2024. But that's just the average. Vegas was hit far worse. Nevada ranked 5th in the entire nation for restaurant inflation from November 2022 to June 2023. According to U.S. Census Bureau data analyzed by USA Today, a local restaurant owner, Jeff Ecker of Paymans, watched his food and labor costs skyrocket by 51.9% from mid-2021 to mid-2024. While his sales only crawled up by a pathetic 2.6%. A 20-pound container of clarified butter shot from $66 to $117. A case of eggs vaulted from $18 to $44. But this is where it hits home for everyone. Data from Numbeo shows that the price of a meal for a single person at an inexpensive restaurant in Las Vegas surged from $16.86 in 2019 to $26.80 by the close of 2023. That's a $10 spike for what we used to call a basic meal. A 3-course dinner for 2 at a mid-range restaurant? It climbed from $72.22 in 2019 to $79 by 2023. And we're just talking about the inexpensive and mid-range places. The very people who keep this city's heart beating are feeling the pressure most. Their stories reveal the grim reality of how bad things have truly gotten. Las Vegas servers are reporting their tips have been slashed by as much as 50%, as outrageous prices force tourists to tip less or just abandon expensive restaurants completely. One Vegas waitress had to share her story anonymously with Fox News, saying, "Last year around this time, I made $300 to $500 in tips, and today I just walked home with $124. The tourists are at their breaking point too. On the r/Vegas Locals forum, one visitor laid it out plain. $25 drinks, $30 pancakes, $35 burgers, and on top of it, you have to tip." Another chimed in, "Nobody wants to give you 20% on top of the already exorbitantly overpriced food. A single beer at some casinos now costs nearly $15. $15 for a single beer. Here's the bitter truth. Vegas stopped caring about people like us. And now the insiders are finally admitting it. Take Derek Stevens, the CEO of Circa Casino, who told Fox News he's seeing growth at the high end, but it's the regular folks who are getting squeezed. Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars laid it out plainly. He wouldn't fall for their tricks. They're not interested in Jim and Marlene from Arkansas, the kind of people who watch their wallets and aren't dropping a fortune at the tables, lounges, or overpriced restaurants. No, they're chasing Bradley and Stephanie from California, the ones who hemorrhage cash at every turn without a second thought. One Reddit user absolutely nailed it. Vegas made a calculated shift in strategy. This wasn't an accident, it was by design. The city has completely abandoned any attempt to appeal to the average traveler or the visitor on a budget. Instead, Vegas is now exclusively targeting those with serious money to burn. And the decades of loyalty we showed them? They tossed it in the trash for a quick buck. This runs deeper than just expensive food. This is about the death of the very soul of Las Vegas. When you hear Rick Harrison from Pawn Stars blaming the tourism slump on the hangover from that global health crisis and calling out hotels for their absurd fees, you know we've hit a breaking point. The tourism numbers themselves tell a bleak story. In June of 2025, Las Vegas witnessed an 11.3% collapse in tourism from the previous year, with 1.5 million fewer visitors in just the first half of 2025. International travelers are down a full 13%. Food and drink establishments in Clark County pulled in nearly $11.7 billion in sales from July 2024 through May 2025, a drop of 1.6% from the year before. That might not sound like a lot, but it represents almost $191.5 million in vanished revenue. When you price out your loyal base, they simply vanish. As Teddy Papa George, Secretary-Treasurer for 60,000 hospitality workers, put it to reporters, the whole town is slower. A perfect storm brewed, starting with the 2020 global health crisis, but it certainly didn't stop there. Supply chain chaos sent food costs skyrocketing. Labor shortages demanded wage hikes, and then inflation came crashing down, hitting everything from fuel to basic ingredients. But here's the part they hope you'll ignore. Countless restaurants used this crisis as a smokescreen to roll out permanent price hikes that went far beyond anything that was necessary. The Federal Trade Commission found that food and beverage sellers saw revenues outpace their costs by 6% in 2021 and a jaw-dropping 7% in 2023. They didn't just cover their costs, they were padding their own pockets while hardworking families were struggling to stay afloat. All the while, Las Vegas restaurants that had survived on razor-thin margins for decades suddenly acted entitled to massive profit windfalls. Food corporations used every excuse in the book, from the Russia-Ukraine war to bird flu, to justify price increases that mysteriously never went back down. American food prices shot up 23.6% from 2020 to 2024. But Vegas prices climbed even faster because they viewed tourists as a captive audience with no other choice but to pay up. Let's just take a moment and mourn what has been taken from us. These weren't just restaurants. They were pieces of living Vegas history. The Rio's Carnival World Buffet, the one that completely revolutionized buffets back in the early 90s with its themed cuisine islands, was shuttered in 2020. Now it's some generic canteen food hall. The Aria Buffet became the proper Eats food hall in 2022. The Luxor Buffet, one of the last affordable havens on the Strip at $32, went dark in March of 2025. The Westgate Fresh Buffet is gone for good. Even the Bellagio stooped to a line pass system where you pay an extra $20 to $30 just for the privilege of skipping the line at their buffet. The message is crystal clear. If you can't pay their premium prices, you're no longer welcome in their version of Vegas. Those of us who remember the real Vegas know precisely what has been stolen. Remember when you could grab a decent prime rib dinner at the El Rancho for $4.99? When the Holiday Casino Buffet cost 99 cents for breakfast and $1.99 for lunch? And $3.99 for dinner. Remember when the hotels actually had to compete on giving you value instead of just seeing who could invent the most outrageous new fee? When a comp actually meant something and you didn't need to take out a loan just to eat at a decent restaurant? Remember when you could just dress casually? When the hotel staff actually knew your name after a couple of days? And when the entire point was to make you feel like a high roller so you'd stick around and play? Those weren't some fantasy good old days, they were just fair days, back when Vegas understood that if you take care of your customers, they will take care of you. But I don't want to leave you with nothing but doom and gloom. There are still some holdouts fighting the good fight. Slots of Fun is still serving a $2 shrimp cocktail, the absolute cheapest in all of Las Vegas. Ellis Island offers a $9.99 shrimp cocktail and still gives you honest-to-goodness value. Some downtown places like South Point's Garden Buffet offer prime rib dinners for $33.95. The Las Vegas Restaurant Week in 2024 brought 260 restaurants together and raised over $380,000 for people facing food insecurity, which proves there are still people in this industry with a conscience who care about the community. Guy Fieri's Flavortown Sports Kitchen offers unlimited small plates during its weekday brunch for just $19.99. Several properties still offer locals discounts, and happy hour deals do still exist if you're willing to hunt for them. The Golden Nuggets restaurants have some solid happy hour deals, and places like the Marketplace Buffet at Rampart still provide real value. especially with their loyalty program discounts. But make no mistake, these are the exceptions, not the rule. They're just small islands of sanity in a vast and churning ocean of greed. Let's get right to the bitter truth. Vegas has decided you're no longer worth their time unless you're rolling in cash. Their spreadsheets have concluded they'd rather have a handful of whales than a sea of loyal folks who came back for a fair price. This runs deeper than the price of a buffet. This is about a fundamental lack of respect. It's about turning their backs on the very people who kept the lights on through every single downturn. The ones who returned, year after year, who built the legend of Vegas into the entertainment capital of the world. They've torn up the social contract that once said, "Come here and have the time of your life. We'll make it possible." That was a deal where everyone won. Now the message is cold and clear. Pay our price or get lost. The drop in tourism isn't some great puzzle. It's the predictable outcome of treating your most loyal customers like they're disposable. When a server's tips get cut by 50% and visitors are gasping at $30 pancakes, you've officially lost your way. Room rates have soared 70% since 2015. Resort fees tack on another $35 to $55 a night, and parking fees bleed you dry. And the price of food? It's exploded into a different reality. Even a vacation budget has a breaking point. This city's entire reputation was built on being the one place where a regular person could feel like a king for a weekend. Now it's a place where you have to be a king just to eat a decent meal. The numbers paint a grim picture, an 8% decline in visitors year over year. A 76% wipeout of the available buffets, a 27% hike in restaurant prices, and resort fees that can literally double what you thought you were paying for a room. This isn't change, it's a coup. They've staged a revolution, transforming Vegas from a working person's paradise into a private playground for the 1%. And they did it right under our noses. But here's their fatal miscalculation. We're watching now, we're talking, we're sharing the brutal reality of our experiences, and most critically, we are voting with our wallets. Every empty seat in a restaurant, every vacation booked elsewhere, every story of disappointment is a ballot cast against this new, greedy version of Vegas. The suits in the boardrooms need to hear from actual human beings. They need to grasp that their profit margins don't show the soul they've ripped out of this city, the very heart of what made this place magical. So what's your Vegas story? Do you remember when the Dunes buffet cost $4 and felt like the height of luxury? When shrimp cocktails were 99 cents and no one felt like they were being taken for a ride? When you could actually afford to bring your family and know everyone would have an incredible time? Put those memories in the comments. Tell us about the Vegas you carry in your heart, the prices you actually paid, the experiences that you treasured. Let's forge a digital monument to what we've lost and serve as a reminder to everyone, including the casino executives who are undoubtedly watching, what this town once meant to everyday people. Because here is the undeniable truth. They changed the game on us, but we are under no obligation to keep playing. There are still places that haven't forgotten what hospitality truly means. There is still real value out there if you know where to find it. And more importantly, there are still good people in this industry who get that you build a legacy by taking care of people, not by bleeding them dry. But we have to make our voices heard. We have to sound the alarm. We must make it painfully clear that loyalty is a two-way street and respect is earned, not demanded through exorbitant prices. Your voice matters. Your memories matter. Your Vegas story matters. Share it below so we can amplify this message together. And if this video struck a chord, if it spoke to your own disillusionment with Vegas, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. We are building a movement of Vegas loyalists, people who remember the glory days and refuse to stay silent about what this city is becoming. Because someone has to stand up for... Because somebody has to be the champion for the people who truly built this town. And that somebody is us.